what's up?
Yo, how's it going?
I'm good, dude. I'm posted out chilling. How about you?
N- I'm doing pretty well. I just had like my third Thanksgiving dinner in a row, so I'm just like
Oh yeah?
super full but happy.
Yeah. You're like comatose. Just took like a 2 hour nap or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's
I
what.
definitely
That's
did
good.
that yesterday.
Yeah, same here.
Eh,
I took one yesterday and today because like my favorite stuffing, and it's all carbs. So it's like you eat it and then you're just done. Like
Stuffing
it's
is your favorite?
yeah by
Dude,
far.
same.
It's just
The stuffing
it's
is the stuffing is supreme. It is my
yeah.
favorite.
My mom puts like breakfast sausage and apples into it. Like
Ooh,
goddamn.
yeah, that sounds delicious. Salivating just thinking about it, but
It's fucked up, dude. All right, so yeah, all right. So yeah, I guess you probably want like some like a like a general introduction.
yeah, those always help.
Yeah, okay. So my first tournament was 2017. Um I I just like I no life Fox. I was like a diehard Fox man, and then I quit in 2020 cuz like Melee like wasn't cutting it, and I thought that there was like something more out there,
Mm-hmm.
and like we always think. And then uh, about a month ago, long story short, I found God and he told me to play Melee.
Okay.
Um, so I'm like, so now I'm like, I'm back and I'm trying to like build my foundation back the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's me playing like um, a lot more slowly, a lot more thinking about what my opponent wants to do, like the motives of my opponent. Because before, I was just, playing super fast and like I thought I knew what I was doing, but I really wasn't. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I had always wanted to dual main Fox and Falco, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of shut out the Falco because I was like, oh, like I'll just die hard Fox, like one character, one character, one character. But honestly, I enjoy playing both, and like I think my Fox makes my Falco better, and my Falco makes my Fox better.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Mango says the same thing. He likes switching back and forth.
Yeah, like it feels comfortable. Like it's like if my Fox isn't feeling it, it's like it's not necessarily like I should like take a break and like put the controller down. Like sometimes switching to Falco just gives me like a better outlook. So like I have specific things that I'm looking to work on. Um, so there's nothing Fox specific, but there is some Falco specific stuff. So
Okay.
this is really like my first, I guess you could say, intentional, like professional foray into Falco. And so coming from Fox, I really don't laser. Like I, en- I enjoy doing like, approaching laser mix-ups, like dashing laser, but
Mm-hmm.
the facet of like laser control is very foreign to me. And actually, it was with Fox too. Like I never really singled lasered much as Fox. Hence the
Right. I mean, Fox can't really get laser control anyway, so because he doesn't, because they don't
yeah,
stop your opponent.
exactly. And like and again, like when I first started, I was fast. Thought I knew what I was doing. So control based gameplay is like is pretty weird to me.
I
I
get what you're
generally just
saying.
yeah, I generally try to outspeed and like outspace, but Falco I've learned can't really do that with just movement alone. Like he needs to have some sort of um control first
Mm-hmm.
before he
Mm-hmm.
can really play mix-ups.
Very true.
And so just isolating those instances would be really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that. And then when my opponent's in the corner, or no, not in the corner, but when they're on ledge, I just don't know what to do. Because like I think to myself, I'm like, oh, like I should just like spam like good bears, right? But then I'm like, no, there's no way I just bear. Like I have to do some other. So it becomes like very convoluted in my own head when my opponent's on ledge, especially if they
Mm-hmm.
start like Sammy stalling and shit, because then it's like then I really get in my own head. Um, so I think you know, um, really, I don't have any specific things that I'd like you to like point out. Um, you can kind of just go, um,
Okay.
like Yeah, you can kind of just go. I guess the one overarching thing that it would be cool if you paid attention to is I feel like I don't push my reactions in neutral hard
Mm-hmm.
enough. Um, like I feel like I commit like too early,
Mm-hmm.
before I've kind of established what the mix-up is. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, long story short, there's really no like overarching thing. This is kind of
Okay.
just like an open book.
Okay, I'll keep all that stuff in mind though. That was good. Like the more you have to say, usually the better, because it gives me more insight on like your perspective and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
The screen
that's
share
kind
is
of
working, right?
yeah, for sure. I
Okay,
can see
cool.
it.
What were you saying?
I don't
Okay, no worries.
know.
All right, let's get started on the Falco one. Um,
Oh, actually, you know what? I think it would be better if you started with the Fox one.
sure thing.
Yeah, just because like I started with Fox, so it would be easier for you to see like kind of where like you know where my Fox shows up in my Falco play, and kind of how to
Mm-hmm.
you know keep the two as separate characters, which will be a challenge.
Okay. Hmm. Okay, hmm. So I'm definitely seeing some stuff already so far that's like kind of clear with your Fox. So my impression is that you've sort of recognized the idea of like a mix up, right? That like I'm gonna kind of choose an option, and my opponent kind of has to choose an option, and then like I want to be right, you know. And so like I see that you kind of have that idea, but the thing with mix ups is you don't they're not like the game doesn't just start and then like a bunch of 50-50s happen. A lot of times it's a little bit more subtle than that, where your initial goal in like learning the game or a character is always to be able to protect yourself from their primary threats. And then because like otherwise, you could just sort of get into a match versus someone way worse than you, and they win a bunch of RPSs in a row, and or they just sort of throw out moves that you happen to guess wrong on, and then you just lose. And so like just sort of doing mix-ups or playing RPS can create a lot of inconsistency, because like obviously if you're just playing RPS in real life, you're not going to have like an amazing win rate because it's kind of random. And so your goal when you're playing this game is you want a consistent win rate, and you want like a very high percentage win rate, and so you have to find ways to sort of stack the odds in your favor. And
Right.
what were
Okay. Like a you sort of like a you have to be this tall to ride sort of deal.
you have to be what?
Like it's like a you have to be this tall to ride sort of deal. Like you can't like you have to show me that you're ready for mix-ups. Like I have to, or maybe that's not what you're saying.
It's like well, it's kind of like that like yeah, like because so okay, I see what you're saying now, and you are kind of right with like I do. It is kind of like what I'm saying, where I'm saying like if your opponent, if you could stand there and press no buttons, and your opponent was like giant DK from Adventure Mode, where they just kind of jumped off
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
where they just
Right.
kind of killed themselves, and you pressed like one or two buttons, that would be like the ideal way to play the game, right? Like there's no chance of you messing up. You have a 100% win rate. That sounds pretty good. And so like that would be ideal. Your opponent's not going to give you that most of the time. So then you kind of move on to the next layer, and you're like, okay, not necessarily a layer, but you're like, you want them to give it to you for free, you know?
Yeah.
And this never changes, by the way. You always want them to give it to you for free. And so you're like, okay, so now I'll start like dash dance grabbing, and there's like a certain level of player that I'm sure you've played where they're pretty bad or pretty new, and you can just dash dance grab, and they'll just throw out moves, and then you just dash back, and they whiff, and then you dash in and you grab them, you know? And
Right.
that is kind of the same thing as the other one, where you have a free win because you're like, well, I'm going to just stay safe by dashing back, and then when you whiff, I'll come in and hit you. And basically, the better player you're playing, the less free stuff they are going to give you. And then, so your job is to make it significantly more, like, you're trying to make it really easy for them to accidentally give you free stuff. So, for instance, like, you'll see it sometimes when top players are playing each other, they'll both play, like, really safe for, like, a while, and then somebody misses an air dodge on a platform, like, they try to wave land on a platform, and they air dodge, and then the other person, like, zero deaths them. And
Right.
as much as we don't really love that, that is, like, the true nature of Melee, which is, like, you want them to give it to you for free, you want to, you know, scare them into doing something, or make them miscalculate such that they kind of give you a free win. And so the way you're playing here at the opening is it's very like you kind of recognize that there are mix-ups. I'm going to ignore this first approaching laser because you can kind of just get destroyed if you start match with approaching laser. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's not a huge deal. Like, it's not like a big thing.
Right.
But you just kind of immediately throw out this nair. And so it's like, okay, so versus players who jump into this nair, or maybe even shield this nair, you're going to be in a good spot. Versus players who maybe hold down here or dash back, you're going to lose this. And so you're like, all right, the match started, I'm picking A, do you pick, I'm picking rock, what's your guess? And so by doing that, you're taking away all of your potential to outplay this person, because it doesn't matter if this is you or a level 1 CPU that was programmed to start the match in there's like you haven't given yourself a bunch of chances to like outplay them.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and like this is actually a big reason why I came to you for lessons specifically, because like this is like exactly the type of thing that I need to structure myself on and how to practice. Like, to give you an idea, like I'd already kind of caught on to this, and today, like, I practice each day, and today my practice was like I failed because I still have yet to navigate Uncle Punch recording, but the goal was to set a recording of Sheik doing like a forward tilt in the middle of the stage at a random timing, and I would just like stay in threat range, or stay, in and out of threat range, and then just react so I could punish the F tilt. Like because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I don't let my opponent hang themselves, and when they do, I'm too focused on the RPS. So if Sheik was to just up smash, in the middle of the stage, and I'm right outside of threat range, I probably wouldn't punish it because I'm just not thinking that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I was watching some Fox VODs, and specifically I was watching you versus Eisengobe from Apex 2014.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, dude, banger set. And I'm
I like that set. I have good
so
memories of it.
And I'm like, dude, like this motherfucker is like, it's like like you're saying, it's so tempting. It was so tempting for Eisengobe to commit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was rolling and up tilting and shining when you weren't even close, because you were just moving on, like you were just moving on him. And so that's the sort of thing that I'm trying to really get right,
Mm-hmm.
and iron down. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so basically like so like the number one chess player is like Magnus Carlsen, and his thing is, the reason kind of why he's so consistent is that he either plays for a win or a draw. So when he can't get a win, he'll just play for the draw, and he's really, really good at it. And most of the time, he's just playing so hard for the draw that his opponent will kind of try to take a risk to get a win, and then he'll get the win anyway. And that is kind of the way you want to play in Melee. And a lot of times when I tell people stuff like that, they're like, no, I want to be like the guy. I want to be like in there. And people are like, ah. And then you're like finding your way in with sick punches and stuff. And it's like, well, that's great. But you don't actually deserve to be aggressive until you can be defensive, because otherwise your aggression, and I was talking about this right before the stream starts, otherwise aggression comes from a place of fear, which makes it not actually aggression. Because people go, well, if I'm just standing around, I'm gonna get hit. I'm gonna hit him first by throwing out a move, and it's like that's not aggression, That's just like that's a crutch. Right. And so the important part of the game is to learn how to protect yourself and sort of like maintain neutral positioning. And so like in this position, when you start the game here, you should be kind of trying to like maintain a neutral positioning. And and if your opponent tries to break that neutral positioning, you want to be like very like barbed. Like you want to have all these little things where it's like, hey, you better not try it. And then if your opponent does try it, maybe Sheik wave dashes in on you, and then she gets like drilled or something,
Yeah, instead, instead of like, all right, instant preloaded, all right, laser, react nair, I'm like, all right, let me keep neutral positioning. Let's see what she likes to do. I'm like, okay, so she just did like, an AC fair. Let me see if she doubles down in F tilts, or let me see if, but like be barbed for the boost grab, and like just generally that's sort of okay. I see what you're saying.
And so a lot of times when people think of mix-ups, they also think of things where you either like win and you hit them, or you lose and they hit you. But a lot of times it's a little more subtle, where like, let's say you're both really good at protecting yourselves and maintaining neutral. So like the game has kind of defaulted to a sort of like stasis where like, Sheik dashes in, wave dashes back, and you just dash dancing in front of her or something, And there's not really like a way to break that easily, because if you try to just jump in at her, you'll die, and if she tries to run in on you, she'll die. And this is kind of like true neutral game that gets like established when both players have good enough spacing. A lot of times when you're doing a mix-up from this position, you're not actually doing a mix-up to hit your opponent. You're doing a mix-up to get into a range such that your RPS, like this type of nair you do. Because the thing is, obviously, approaching nair isn't bad, But what you want to do is you want to try to get into a range, or like a state where like maybe your opponent is out of position and you know that they like to jump in a certain spot, and you're at this nice comfy range, and at that point nairing is still kind of an RPS, but it's like a really heavily favored RPS where like your win rate is high, your reward is high, your punishment that you get if you're wrong is low. That's what I mean by kind of like stacking the odds in your favor before you kind of roll the dice or play your RPS.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, got it.
So by doing this nair isn't necessarily bad, but it foregoes your ability to outplay the person.
Yeah, it's the principle, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, okay. So anyway, so you're doing this, and this is kind of that like maintaining neutral thing that we talked about. And then I don't even understand what happens here. he just like runs through you, and you're like, oh, have a good day, and you just keep dash dancing in place. I actually don't even. I don't have anything to say about this. I do not know.
We'll just let that breathe.
Same with this full hop approaching laser. I don't know.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a short hop.
Okay, but yeah, short hop approaching laser probably not the play anyway. Even though I know you've been switching back and forth from Falco.
That was an execution test.
Okay, yeah. So like this, let's take this position where you do this nair. This nair is kind of like a lot. It's a very similar nair to the central nair, but now Sheik is in the corner, and she just came up out of the ledge dash, but she's not invincible. You waited long enough that if she like ledge dash forward tilts, that would miss you and stuff like that. And so yeah, you could still get CC grabbed here, and I'm not saying it's the perfect nair, but I'm just saying you kind of have like more reasoning for this nair than your nair in center stage at 0 for no reason.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you got that.
Yeah, that could have been a better punish. I'm also working on punish game.
Yeah, I have some videos on punishing Sheik. Secret is mostly just repeated up air.
Up airs, yeah, yeah. I saw that. I saw that lesson actually. Oh, also my recovery sucks.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's like it might not be for this lesson,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely something to think. Like just my recovery is like I have my mind is blank when I'm off the stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think recovery is one of the most minor parts of the game to learn because, especially like as Fox, versus most good characters, if the player was good, they would have killed you anyway. So like
Right.
recovering is obviously useful, but I'd much rather you learn like the other parts of the game first.
Yeah, right.
Let's see.
Good point. Good point. Good point.
Okay, that was fine. Okay.
That was a preloaded run through, like we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like when your opponent's invincible, you don't really have a ton of options, but I would probably say that you don't really want to be running through Sheik or trying to like jump over Sheik during invincibility. Like if you try to full hop over her and she does this same up tilt, she'll catch you also.
Like
So,
I should really just not get grabbed. Like
yeah, just but
I'm at 4%.
like what you should kind of do is maybe like hang out over here, and then like when Sheik tries to chase you down, maybe then run through her. You know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Do I do the DI out mistake? Yeah, I missed the SDI. That was a bad. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that drill sometimes. Like sometimes that shit just becomes preloaded.
Mm-hmm.
But that
Yeah, a lot of times the stuff you're doing so far, it doesn't feel very directed. Um, so you kind of want, hmm.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's either not directed or I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna dash, or I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna dash dance until he forward tilts. Oh fuck, he didn't forward tilt. What do I do now? Like
I guess by directed, I sort of mean like, um, hmm. Like ever played that board game like Sorry with the little slide?
Oh no, actually.
Okay, so basically it's like there's like six spaces in a row and they kind of have like a little slide on them. And basically like if you land on the beginning of the slide, you just sort of auto slide to the end and you get to skip like five spaces instead of having to like, roll dice and hop through them all. But
Mm.
basically you need, and so like a lot of times in the game your goal is not to get to the end of the slide or the middle of the slide. You just have to hit the beginning of the slide, and then the slide takes over and now you're at the end of the slide. And a lot of times that's kind of how you want your combos to feel. Like I tell people, don't try to hit people with combo openers, try to hit people with combos. So when you are like looking for a move to hit your opponent, you should, how you're talking about the preloaded thing, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
should basically have your combo, if this move hits, preloaded.
Right. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Like I'm like okay. Like I'm not thinking like okay he's gonna F tilt or I'm not thinking like okay I'm not just thinking okay he's gonna F tilt. I'm thinking okay what's the pump for when he F tilts.
Yeah, like if I hit him with my move, not necessarily even if he F tilts, blah blah. I'm talking about like your move and hitting him. Like if my down
Like
air hits him, what am I gonna do after the down air? Like, let's say you have a choice between, drill, turnaround up tilt, drill grab, and drill wave shine. You know, you should kind of already know. Like, let's say you start you make this sort of neutral game decision that you're gonna do this drill and you're hoping he's gonna forward tilt, etc. And then you sort of jump in, and you're about to use the drill, and you should already know, like based on his percent, based on his positioning, whatever, at least like the general idea of your combo afterward. Like, okay, I'm gonna wave shine. And then I'm gonna drill, wave shine, grab, up throw, and then I'm gonna look for like a back air because I think it'll hit him off stage or whatever percent, or I'm gonna look for an up air, or I'm gonna wave shine up tilt after this. You you at least need like a strong feeling of what your combo will be before you hit your first move of the combo. And a lot of times it looks like you're hitting this back air, and then you kind of were just like, maybe the back air shine will work, and then there wasn't really like a super plan. You're like, I guess I'll wave shine and then figure it out. And then like kind of here, Sheik is just kind of in the corner, and she could have been doing anything. And you just sort of putting this nair out, maybe with the idea that like something good will happen, like
Yeah,
maybe Sheik will jump in and I'll somehow get like a shine or something, and that kind of happens, but it doesn't really work out, and then you're like, oh, I guess I better leave. And it's like, and like that nair just, it didn't have like good odds, you know. You want things with good odds. So like think about this, like let's say you nair this Sheik's shield right here, and then you shine right here, and they just shield grab. They're just gonna slip off to the edge. You don't actually have like a real chance of getting anything there. Same with like this nair. Like the idea that like if my moves hit, good things will happen, in most fighting games is not that bad of a plan, but in this game it's actually wrong, because hitting your opponent can make you lose.
Yeah, right.
So it kind of like breaks a lot of basic assumptions that you might have in like a video game, that like hitting him with this nair should overall be good for you, and a lot of times it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Like I have to like sort of have things kind of like understood before they happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I almost need to like detach and like have the game play itself, but be very focused on what moves I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, all right, all right, that's enough smash. You know what I mean? Or I see this and I'm like,
because like that's definitely like the vibe from your Fox is very kind of, it's kind of disorganized, and sort of like you're not really sure which move you want to use in any situation, so you kind of just pick one. And Fox is really good at kind of sometimes rewarding you for that and making it, like, I would say that Fox is probably the most difficult character in the game to discern whether you're actually doing good things or if he's just kind of carrying you and you win sometimes anyway.
yeah, exactly.
And so it's like, it's not an easy problem to solve with that, with like, it's hard to know when you're really outplaying. This was really good though, although he jumped into it, but that was overall like a very good like kind of bait, and you go in.
Like for that, like, you know, when I run in the second time, I should have been like, when he bears, I should have been like, all right, this is gonna be a crouch cancel grab, you know, like you'll see, or like just some sort of idea of like if you go back like, you know, maybe 10 seconds. So I run in, so I bait the up tilt.
Oops, this did not go back as much as I wanted.
Yeah, okay, so I bait the up tilt, and then the second time I run in, you'll notice he does a back air. When's it coming? Right here. And I should have been like, you know, there should have been an organization of like, okay, this is probably going to be a crouch cancel grab. Like let me dash dance and see what he does. Okay, yeah, he's hopping around. Let me run up crouch, and then right, instead of like just, you know.
Okay, so I think the ideas you're having are not bad at all, but I think that you're kind of getting ahead of yourself in terms of, because you said you kind of wanted to come in and like sort of think more about like what your opponent is thinking and stuff like that. I would say kind of put that on like the back burner for a while. If you're trying to just get better, you know, if you're enjoying it, obviously do whatever you like. But I think if in terms of like effective improvement, it's not really like where you're at. And a lot of times I think that when people are trying too hard to think of stuff like that, like conditioning and habits, and like, oh, well, I did this last time, so he's probably expecting this time. Like, if you think too hard about that, you're always going to be wrong sometimes, obviously. And so you will like, basically, it's really easy to get trapped for a long time sort of working on it and trying to get better at understanding your opponent's habits and stuff like that, when that's not really like what's holding you back in the game. I would say that the majority of the like your biggest weakness is probably like it's a lack of, like I said before, it's kind of like a lack of direction and also a lack of an ability to protect yourself.
Right.
Um and sort of like maintain the neutral positioning. So it's kind of like you want to be better right now at like fighting games, you know, like conditioning your opponent, but you're not really good enough at melee for your correct like fighting game decisions to really mean a lot.
Right.
So versus someone who's like of your exact skill level, it might be really fun to do that type of stuff, but ultimately like practicing it is going to make you like 0.001% better, whereas if you were trying a lot harder to hit drill wave shine instead of like nairs and bears and stuff, then I think like the game would sort of become a little clearer for you in terms of like the thoughts you're having about conditioning and stuff anyway. Um because the game for you currently is kind of a Wild West type thing, and you want it to feel a lot more concrete, I think, in terms of like positions in game that occur. It should kind of feel like you have like a machine that like inputs you input positions against Sheik or whatever character, and the machine, you know, spits out dead Sheiks. And your goal is strictly to grab your opponent and stuff them into the machine as fast as you can. Or not as fast as you can, but as effectively as you can. And you don't really have an effective machine, nor do you really know exactly how to get your opponent into it. And so, you know, practicing kind of pushing your opponent around and being like, aha, I'm putting you here. And it's like, well, the entrance to the machine's over there, and also the machine is broken, you know?
That's good. Yeah, that's good shit. Yeah,
So,
so it's almost like the solution is, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I mean, work on, just the basic fundamentals, work on like zero to deathing some Sheiks and Uncle Punch off of, different, off of like, just drills, off of different
because,
things like, okay, here's a beat 3 running shine. Here's a run up shield to drill out of shield, and then just practice that shit, get it down pat, some
uh-huh.
zero to death, and
Because a
then
lot
like
of
hop on
times
unranked, and then I'm like, all right, my goal is to zero to death. Like my goal is to get an opening and take it as
right,
far
and
as I
zero to
can.
death in like this specific way that's really convenient to me.
Mm,
Because like a lot of the time, so a lot of your decision making in the game right now is based on both of you kind of just trying to hit each other. And like I said, the longer you kind of think too hard about stuff like that, it doesn't really make sense because there's not like a fundamental basis that you both agree on for like decision making. Like you might be
yeah,
like, of course he'll CC here, and he doesn't know what's going on, so he doesn't CC there, and that's
yeah,
why the game is actually created. Like a lot of times, the game is created at a higher level from counterplay and layered counterplay, and so think of it as like when people first pick up a game, like a new game comes out and it's day one. Who's the best at the game? It's the person who finds that one stupid zero death that they can repeat over and over, you know? And when does that person get dethroned? It's when somebody else figures out how to not make that combo possible to hit. It's kind of like Luigi in like Smash Ultimate. I don't know if you know anything about Ultimate, but
uh,
Luigi
um,
has like this like plunger combo that lets him basically like wobble zero death you, and the matchup kind of revolves around you not letting Luigi get his plunger zero death thing. And
okay,
that is sort of how matchups form. So, like, let's say at 0%, you have this combo you do where you do drill, wave shine, and you do up throw, up air, back air, and you edge guard Sheik, and then you do wave dash, or wave shine, up smash, and she's dead. Kind of, like the standard basic Sheik combo. And let's say you're playing against a Sheik who's, like, really bad. they don't know how to counter that drill, you can just do that same combo to them every time, and that would be like if you were the only two melee players on Earth, and that would be like as far as you would ever need to solve this game. You have your one combo, your opponent always gets hit by it, and your opponent, and therefore you always win, you know? And therefore the game is kind of just stopped. And if that's as far as the game can go, then the meta dies, and then the game dies. But thankfully Melee has a lot of counterplay. So your opponent then will say, okay, this drill is really, really ruining my day. And so what I need something where he goes for that drill, and I get out of the way and I grab him. And now, when Fox goes for that drill, I get my kill. And then you go, okay, well, if my opponent falls for the drill and they die, that's really great. But if they do this dash dance and then they grab me, I lose for doing the drill, and I don't like that. And so you go, okay, so how do I beat their dash dance to beat my drill, you know? And you go, okay, maybe I do an overshoot running shine there. And then you go, okay, so now what if like my drill would have hit the first time, but I go for the shine instead? Like, how does that work out for me, you know? And so the choices that everyone makes is kind of dependent on, like, what are the strongest openings, you know? And so, like, when you're playing a character, you're playing against Sheik or whatever, and Sheik is like, give me the grab, all I care about is the grab, or whatever, then, like, a lot of your movement should be based around, I want to avoid Sheik's grab, while simultaneously trying to hit her with my drill wave shine thing that I've practiced that kills, you know?
Yeah,
And
like that falls into what you were saying before of in like one of your other lessons where it's like like you want to, like, your opponent is reacting to you. Like I'm not like oh, I'm just gonna flee and just not get grabbed. It's like the plan is to make them want to grab me.
yeah, like, you know they want to grab you. So you want to be like, oh, look, I think you can grab me. Nah, you can't, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, just,
That'll be harder to practice, but it's gonna be something that I'm gonna keep in mind. Like I think that would help against like unranked Sheiks.
well, it's kind of like you find a balance. So step one is, like, get grabbed as little as possible. But they're always going to kind of grab you sometimes, but you just don't want to make it easy, you know? And then
Yeah.
you add in your punish, and you go, okay, well, sometimes when you miss your grab, I'm gonna hit you instead. And then suddenly they're a little bit more scared of going for their grab and stuff like that. But it's just the idea that, like, all sort of solves and all thought processes and counterplay and all movements taken in every matchup by every player involved should be, I'm trying to hit my super special awesome thing, and I'm trying to make sure they never hit their super special awesome thing.
Yeah, right.
So, like,
Okay.
knowing what your good combos are and hunting for them while simultaneously avoiding your opponent's good combos is kind of like, that is the starting line that you should be moving towards. And you've kind of, like you were mentioning at the beginning, you've kind of, like, the amount you've played so far has kind of been under, like, a different perspective. And you're trying to find a more effective, more, like, well-rounded perspective than just, yay, buttons go burr, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
For sure.
rather than, like, the conditioning game, this is definitely, like, a better direction. Is try not to let them hit their sick combo, try to hit my sick combo. And everything that you do in the game, everything you see pro players do, is, like, way down the line of reasoning. If you could trace that all the way back to their character or the other character's best combo.
Mm.
And it expands, like, a lot of, like, okay, well, can my opponent, for instance, like, there's stuff where it's kind of like you end up with positions where, like, let's say Fox is shielding here in the corner and he's facing to center, so he's facing the same way you're facing. It's just a Fox right here, and you're Fox, and you back air the back of this Fox's shield. Like, let's say you full hop over him and you back air here. Now, normally, and let's say he's like 150%. Okay, so the back air you did was super justified because if it hits you, kill him, and then you're like, okay, well, what is his counterplay out of this back air? It's his shine out of shield. But the issue is that if he shines out of shield from right here, you'll just go to ledge. So suddenly, like, he doesn't have his big reward that he would normally get from his shine out of shield. And so therefore your decision is now like significantly better. So you're protecting yourself from his best punish, or kind of his only punish, while excuse me, while still having an opportunity to maybe hit with your thing. And that sort of min-maxing is like how you sort of are going to construct your playstyle. Based on, like, is this a position in which my opponent can get their perfect combo? And if they can't get it, is this a position that I can use to maybe get my combo in? Or is this a position I can use to maybe get closer to an even better position? You know, it's something like, so you play Falco, and Falco Marth is really like that, where, like, you both are trying to avoid your opponent's really big punish. But Falco, because he has the lasers, he can kind of push Marth back. And so you end up in this spot where, like, you're both kind of fighting for the center, but Falco can kind of push Marth back until Marth is in the corner, at which point Marth doesn't have as many options to, you know, he can't dash back and stuff like that. So then Falco becomes a lot stronger, and then so Marth doesn't have access to as many of his win conditions from this position. Therefore, it's like a better spot for you to, like, play from. So yeah, those are kind of like examples of the thing I'm talking about a little bit. Is it making sense?
Yeah, it is. And I think that, like, I think I'll really come down to that line of thinking once I kind of establish that broader min-maxing and getting my sick combo and avoiding their sick combo.
Exactly. And so it all starts from there, and, like, the logic is significantly more straightforward once you're at that point.
Right, like, I need to be thinking, like, you know, at each moment, how am I getting my sick combo? You know?
And I think it's interesting because, like, I think playing against Puff or, like, wobbling ice climbers sort of gives people, like, an introduction to that of, like, man, they really want their rest. Like, they especially want to up throw rest. And then because they really want to up throw rest you, pretty much your entire playstyle against Puff, anyone's playstyle against Puff as Fox, sort of like the most basic piece of their spacing, like the first layer of their spacing, is don't let Jigglypuff up throw rest you, you know?
Yeah, right. And then, like, that can kind of get lost as you play against other characters.
And then what was that? Sorry.
No, and, like, that can kind of get lost when you're playing against other characters.
Yeah, because the other characters are a little bit more complicated and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, and then you're, especially against Puff with Fox, you're like, all right, I really want up throw up air at 50, so, you know, or 50-ish. So then you're like, okay, well, at 50-ish, suddenly Puff has begun to play a lot, you know, more campy, because she really wants to avoid my up throw up air, and so yeah, that'll basically shape your basic understanding of all these matchups. Like, what are my win conditions and what are theirs?
Yeah. Okay. Word. Cool. Yeah, let's not talk about that down to it.
And it seems like a basic thing, but it's one of those things that only sounds basic once you know it. And beforehand, exactly. You're like, what do I do? Like, how does this actually work?
Like, yeah, like, what am I doing right now? Yeah, no, that was like, I've gotten out of this lesson exactly what I was hoping to.
Okay, that's far. Good.
Yeah, like, I was like, I need someone to just tell me that dash dance grab is fine. Because, like, not to say that was all that I did, but when I first started playing, that was all that I did. Because when I first started playing, I was playing against a Marth who was way better than me, and I was like, well, I don't know how to out RPS this guy, but he sometimes nares me, so and I can grab that and not throw up air, etc., etc. And I started to get down on myself because I'm like, oh, I'm just, I'm just grabbing, or I'm just getting like, whiff punishes, and I was like, there has to be more to this, and etc., etc. Analyzing mango mix-ups ad nauseum, and then just kind of missing the bigger picture. So yeah, this will be helpful. I think what would be cool is like if we looked at the Falco stuff, gave like a bit of, kind of broad kind of Falco game plan shit to kind of put on the back burner and kind of show how it can apply to this general theme of like get your crack combo versus avoid theirs, because I kind of don't know what the Falco crack combo is on Sheik. And then if we could like wrap it up with just like a like some sort of things that I can do, because I practice daily, friendlies, solo practice analysis of a general framework of how I can change things to this more like well-oiled machine type of.
Yeah, I'm down to talk through that.
I'm working on that bear shine.
Okay. Yeah, for Falco, the sort of like cracked combo on Sheik thing is a lot of times like you want to get like a lower percent Nair Shine or like a late Dare Shine, and then you can sort of do stuff, like you'll hit like Dare Shine, Sheik pops up, you do full hop double jump, down air, up tilt, shine back air
Smash
or something,
shine
and
air,
then and then Sheik is kind of up here, and you get like a shark into one more back air, and then you go to the edge, she up B's up to here, you get up, you do like running shine, back air again, she goes over here, she comes back, up B, you do a regular get up, and you like down tilt. That would be like an example of kind of like a Falco Sheik stock type thing that you're looking for.
All right. So it's not much different than I kind of thought.
No, it's kind of similar to the Fox one, just because like there's not a lot of true combos on Sheik, but her disadvantaged state when she's falling is so bad that you can kind of abuse it in like a very similar way. And most of the time when Sheik is recovering against Falco, like unless you get something like this, right? I will look at the edge guard as more of like Sheik is going to recover onto the stage with her up B, and I will get up from ledge and simply continue my combo. So I'm not looking to like insta-kill her or anything like that. I'm just kind of like, well, I'll just get up and I'll hit her a couple more times and hit her off stage, and then I'll do it again until she's at down tilt percent,
Right. Like I was watching my Fox, and like Sheik would recover onto platform, and I do like the jump, like wave shine, run off fair into center type, and I was like, I can just back her.
Yeah.
Like
not
she's
not
she's not coming back. Like
yeah, so basically like that. Yeah, stuff like that. It's good. Outside of the lack of lasers, I don't think your Falco is doing anything like particularly super wrong. I think if I were you and I was trying to get better at the game really fast, what I would do would be to kind of focus more on Fox right now. I think that Fox is a lot more straightforward in a lot of ways, and like kind of based on like where you're at in the game. If you really want to do both, it's kind of difficult just because they have like if you're trying to learn the game from the perspective, right? And post this lesson, you want to learn the game from the perspective of like knowing what's the strongest things with the character and being able to like perform them, and trying to do that with two characters at the same time is a lot harder than like learning it with one and then being like, okay. And it's kind of similar to blah with the other character,
Yeah, right. Like that makes sense. Like once that kind of baseline is established of
once you can kind of have like a better feel of what it like kind of feels like, then I think it's a lot easier to like play your Falco or whatever and have your brain be like, oh, I like this. It's kind of like when I used to play Fox, and I was at like my peak with Fox, I had this feeling against people who were a lot worse than me, where it would kind of be like, okay, the game starts, we're playing neutral. Oh, I beat them in neutral, I take their stock. you know? And then I go, and I would count. I'd go, okay, that's 1. Then they come back, and I do a bunch of dash dances. I hit them, combo to death. I go, that's 2. Da, 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 da. And I would just go through the match like that. And when I play Falco, now, I'm not as good at combo game and stuff like that. I'm not as good as I was as Fox. Despite, you know, maybe in some ways I improved as a player, I'm not as good at Falco as I was at Fox. And so, because I have these leftover feelings from Fox that, like, I knew what it felt like to kind of, you know, neutral game into 1, neutral game into 2, and just getting these stocks really quick, when I play Falco now, I know that my Falco is not at the level it needs to be, and I change my style of, like, oh, you need to be more directed, you need to, like, hit combo starters more rather than hitting these damage moves, because it's not feeling that same way. So once you play Fox and you're more used to, like, I gotta get my cracked combo and avoid theirs, then when you play Falco, you're like, wait a minute, why aren't I going for Falco's big combos, you know? And then, you know, it's just easier to bring up your other characters rather than, like, dual main go at the same time and try to, like, improve them equally.
Right, because, like, you know, my basis for playing both characters is that, like, I'm comfortable. It's not, my basis for playing both characters is not that, like, oh, when I play Falco, it helps me work on my baseline well-oiled machine spacing crack combo game. It's not what it is. Because, like, if the current goal is being a well-oiled machine, then that's Fox. I mean, that's just, you know, that's Fox.
Yeah, so I think
totally right.
Fox is more straightforward, and you're a bit closer to it, of, like, the baseline of it. So that's just my general take. Like, I think dual maining is fine. I'm not going to discourage you from that, but in terms of, like, if you're trying to get good within as few months as possible, probably Fox should take a little bit of a lead for now, at least while you're exploring this concept.
Yeah, I agreed. Dude, I was thinking about it. Like, Fox McCloud is like that 1X. You know what I mean?
1X?
Yeah, you know how everyone has, like, that 1X. Like that
can
1X.
Can you describe what you mean more?
Nah, you know, like she cooked really well, you know. Yeah, man.
I kind of get what you're saying, but it's okay.
I know. I know you think about Fox in science fiction. It's okay.
Okay. Okay. So I think that's probably good for the analysis part of it. So we have about 8 minutes left to sort of talk about, like, where you're gonna go from here.
Yeah.
Okay. So remember, I'm talking about the crack combo, whatever, but ultimately this comes down to the topic of win conditions. And so, you know, the start of your combo matters a lot less than, like, what state your opponent is going to be in at the end of your combo or something like that, you know? Because, like, you want them dead. So the first thing you should be thinking about whenever you're going to try to figure out what your character's, like, big murder combo is how is my opponent going to die? Are they going to die from an up smash? Are they going to die from an up air? Are they going to die from a back air, from a shine, etc.? You have to know, you have to be able to, like, see in your head, like, bam, there it is. You know, for example, regular get up from ledge, wave shine up smash, you know, against Sheik. Let's say you see that in your head and you're like, okay, that's great. That is going to be my kill. And you go, okay, so how do I actually get to that point? And you're like, okay, well, first, Sheik has to be off stage, and she has to be far enough away so that when she up Bs, she goes just barely enough on stage that I can just regular get up and hit her. And you go, okay, how do I get Sheik there? And you go, well, I probably need to back air her at kind of like a high-ish percent. And you go, oh, okay, so, like, what's a decent percent? And you try it out, and maybe it's like 80 or something. You go, okay, so how am I going to get Sheik from 0 to 80? And you go, oh, okay, well, I know the up airs are good, so let's say I hit, you know, 2 up airs. How much damage is that? And you go, okay, that's like this much. Can I hit 2 up airs into a back air at 80? You know, kind of start, like, moving backwards from your kind of win condition and just looking for things that lead to that win condition. Because then, you know, then later, when, let's say, you down smash someone just on accident, like you try to short hop dare and you down smash them, and they fly off stage, and they're in the same spot now that they would have been if you back aired at 80. Your brain can go, oh hey, I know the end of that sequence, even though I kind of skipped and I'm like kind of in the middle of it now, because the ending is the important part. How you get your kill is the important part.
Right. That'd be actually an interesting little exercise because like I find myself always killing my opponent in like just random unplanned ways. So to be like, all right, this stock, I'm going to kill them with an up smash. And like,
yeah, exactly. Like while you're practicing, be like, this stock is ending with get up, wave shine up smash, you know, and you're like, all right, how do I make that happen? And like that is the problem you are trying to solve initially. Once you kind of have this down where you're like, I'm kind of able to like kill my opponent with this thing, then you're like, all right, maybe like what is the easiest way to kind of enter this death sequence that I have now come up with? Is it like a grab? Is maybe I could drill grab because that'll lead into the grab, stuff like that. You start thinking of ways to like construct this sequence, and once you have like a really, really good sword, there's only two types of opponents. Opponents where you swing your sword and they go, I couldn't stop the sword, and they die on the spot. And you go, yay, I have a good sword. Or you swing your sword and your opponent dodges, blocks it, or does something else, and you go, oh, okay, when my opponent blocks it like that, what do I do differently? You know? And and because your sword is good, you no longer have to worry about all the idiots who can't block your sword. You just swing, they die, and you move on, and you look for people who can block it.
No, right. That's cool. That's pretty sick. That's a cool image, you know. Like,
sick.
this one dude walking around town, like just God, like you know, corpses behind him. He's like, dude, I'm just looking for one guy
who can block this sword. You know,
yeah, for Christ's sake, dude, can anyone in this region block this sword? Yeah, no, it's funny because like when I first really came back to this, like I had this note and it has just 15 things and it's like it's numbered 1 through 15 and it's like beat 2 nair, beat 3 run past, beat 2 dash back laser, and so now I'm gonna just make a new one, but it's gonna be numbered 1 through blah blah blah, and it's gonna be like, all right, wave shine up smash, up throw up air,
and working backwards
Armada
from
shine. Yeah, that will be sick because like because my shit back when I used to play is like I used to upset like PR players because like my neutral wasn't great and like my RPS was pretty bad and like I do some pretty shitty options, but like I knew like, okay, I'm gonna up throw tech chase them in a platform and then get them to like 0 to 70 and then I'm gonna Armada shine them. And so it's not not my proudest wins because it's
hey, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, like this lesson when it's up on YouTube should be titled like the true ugly nature of SSBM.
Well, because the thing is like if those people are losing to you doing basic stuff, that's not your fault. That's their fault. You shouldn't feel bad that they are losing to you just doing your stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They gotta block the sword,
Yeah, if they have to block the sword, or else why are you even gonna try?
Yeah. So that'll be cool. I mean, because I'm big on solo practice. I have this thing where like I tried to not have more than like 30 minutes a day of focused melee energy. And so what do you recommend for like little things of all right, like just a small focused session of what we're talking about?
Yeah, okay, so like
I like to balance it out with solo practice analysis and friendlies. Like I don't want to just hop on unranked and be like, all right, this stock up smash this stock, because I feel like that could kind of
Okay, yeah, so I would say like probably like go into Uncle Punch, pick a percent, like pick like 60%, pick a DI for them. Let's say you just pick survival DI or something, and then you just put them on a spot on the stage, And so they're going to have the same DI every time is the idea. And you just put them on a spot on the stage, and you try to kill out of it.
Oh.
Hmm?
Oh, I just said, oh, word.
Yeah, so like you're like, well, they're in this spot, and they're always going to survival DI, so if I do this, 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 oh, they'll die? That's great. What about from this position? You put Sheik at like 50 on like Yoshi's, and be like, is there a way that I can kill Sheik if she does this 1 DI at all? And just sort of mess with that, see what you can kind of come up with, and then try to plug things in the game. Say like, okay, I'm going to try to hit, up air kill. Like a falling up air, rising up air. Like you killed Sheik with Fox that one game where you did the up air. You go, okay, that's how I'm going to kill Sheik. And which percent does that kill at? And how do I get to that percent as quickly as possible? It's totally fine to play like a limited style against people when you're practicing. So don't feel bad if you're not accessing every option.
Cool. That helps.
And and I'll be around if you get confused or you feel like what you're doing maybe isn't as effective as you thought it would be. Feel free to message me, and I can try to help you get pointed in the right direction.
And I think because I like to do analysis as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could spare like 3 minutes to pull up just a set of you versus someone where you just you're just a machine, I'd like to see kind of what that looks like at top level.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if I go on unranked, I'm just gonna have Falco's daring into me. I think it'd be interesting just to see one instance of your version.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look up something and send it to you in a bit.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Like just some type of small.
No, I got you.
I understand these things are nuanced, and I don't want to just be like, oh, fiction, just dashback grabs.
No, I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be a helpful framework. I'm thinking like hopefully we can do like a lesson, once every like 3 weeks to a month or something like that. Like
Okay, that sounds good to me. I definitely think we can make that work. And I'm looking forward to kind of where it goes. Like this lesson, it was like, yeah, we kind of focused on it, but the answer that I'm giving you might seem a little vague. But like if you can sort of let's say you can structure your play in the way I'm talking about, and you're literally 1/10 as good, but you're playing in the way we talked about. It will be a significantly easier road for you to get better than you are now.
Absolutely.
So just focus on trying to play towards that direction, and I think things will work out.
Yeah, right. Developing a curiosity for killing, Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like this.
But
okay.
All right, man. I will send you my Venmo info, and we will talk later. And I'll send you that video too.
All right, absolutely, man. I'll be in
right.
touch. Thank you so much.
Peace.